Do I look any different than you? My blood bleeds red, baby. Eyes baby blue though. Bet you at least one of those. I bet you got a heart that's been broke. I bet you lost faith and hope. I bet you got a lot of secrets that you won't let no one know. I bet you tired but you still play up all night thinking about that one day. Can't go back, can't do it, then you do it, then you lose it. Now you're choosing and abusing what you're using, so confusing. Bet you figure it out, bet you make it out, bet you stake it out. Bet you in a cycle, bet you in a season. I bet you one break away from believing. We are one day away. We are one day away. We are one day away. We are one day away from being free. From being free. From being free. From being free. Do I look any different than you? My soul and spirit came alive. Gonna die one day though. I bet you go through both of those. Yeah, I bet you got a couple people you can't trust. I bet you do a lot of good, but surviving's a must. Find it in you like a menu, gotta stay hungry. Play your cards, poker, rook, rummy. Yeah, you don't know pain till you see it in another's eyes. When you say goodbye for the very last time, and your chest gets tight while we gotta fight for peace. Some man right now. What's it gonna take? Open your eyes and see. Never ever give up, Jimmy B. Take a stand, take a knee. Whatever you believe, B-U-N-L-O-V-E. We are one day away. We are one day away. We are one day away. We are one day away from being free. From being free. From being free. From being free. Do I look any different than you?
Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back to the collective Unfiltered. No, it looks a little different. I got my ace with me, my homie Jamel. Y'all send prayers her way, her and her family. But me, I'm gonna hold it down. Bobby's always in the background holding it down. Special guest today, man. We're about to get, we love to have our volunteer families join us. So, y'all, before I go any further, we're gonna have Mr. Jeff Coleman in the building. All right. So one thing I definitely want to say is a big shout out to our sponsors. All right. Tap House, Tennessee Tap. Y'all lost my voice, coach. And I ain't gonna bullshit y'all. All right. But Tennessee Tap House. Dang, I'm about to be as bad as Darnell. What was that? Hound Dogs. Hound Dogs in Knoxville.
Don't be doing like that, man.
Orange Mountain Designs, Just Facet Tutoring. We definitely appreciate y'all. And if y'all were wondering who that song was right there, that is our very own, my Lady Ball sister, Kate McMahon, former Lady Ball basketball. That's one of her new singles called Free. I love it because it's just about, that unity and what we're looking for in the world today. So Kate Mac, I appreciate you letting me use your song. Jeff, man, say what's up to the people.
What's up to the people? No, I appreciate you having me on here. I've watched, I've seen your show. I admire what you do, what you all do. We got a chance to talk. I watched you play, so of course I appreciate, what you did and just being a fellow of all and a lady, you've been a lady volunteer. So I love what you do with your show. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to have me on. So
I'm definitely happy. We got a champ in the building, you understand? So I'm definitely happy to share that. We share that blood right there, that champion blood. All right, so let's get into it, man. Introduce yourself kind of to the people, what you got going on now, and then we just gonna vibe out.
So yeah, with me, I got to Tennessee in 1995. We had a special time during my whole career there at Tennessee, not just football. I tell people this all the time, like some of the most special moments and some of the things I appreciated most about being at the University of Tennessee didn't have anything to do with football. Actually, well, football in kind of a way, but one of the there's three things for me that I left Tennessee with. Outside of my degree, we won a national championship. I met Reggie White. I met Pat Summitt, and that was I talk about this to people all the time. You know, they want to talk about all this other shit. I like bring up, you know, talking about Pat and just how she would walk into a room and how she would take over things. So that was my time in Tennessee. You know, those 4 years. You know, we had a lot of success on the football field, but the friends I made there, the people that I still know, that one togetherness that we had, because you and I had met before today, but we started talking, and it's just there's certain things that you connect over, shared experiences. We've been in the same place. We've done some of the same things. So just having that, you can't explain it to people who are outside of, you know, our little universe that we share. So just, you know, that was my Tennessee time there. You know, as I was leaving, you know, I had a SEC championship game. I had an injury. You know, I had a tough road to try to keep playing anyway. I only wanted to play 2-3 years after I left there anyway, but that wasn't in the cards for me. Wasn't in the plans. Went to Canada. You know, played for a year. Got hurt. Then I changed my gears right there. I was already making, you know, plans for what am I going to do next while I was still doing that thing. So I was just like, I shifted my gears quickly. You know, I started, you know, things that I was doing at the University of Tennessee. I used to volunteer at Vine Middle School. I worked with the Urban League. I did, you know, I volunteered. I actually interned at HUD that's right there downtown, you know, before I left. So I started laying the groundwork for further down the line while I was still there. So, you know, eventually I started caught on with the career and started utilizing some of those things, doing community outreach. You know, Mechanicsville, right there in Knoxville. I remember when that was were projects, and had to go out and talk to the people about they were changing them over to single family homes. So I started working in that field, you know, getting out there and, you know, working to help people and make things better. So that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years or so. I do project management, program management, community outreach, and work with elected officials, nonprofits, anything to try to get funding to help people, nonprofits that are out helping people. So that's what I do and what I spend my time doing right now. Outside of my volunteer work, I'm Booster Club president, do other things in the community. So right now, for me, it's all about connecting, helping people, you know, doing something positive, and, you know, letting my voice be heard, whatever that is.
Man, he's got it going on, don't he, Lex?
I know, right?
Golly, I feel like a failure.
I get real passionate, man. Like people, I start talking about stuff. People can tell when I'm into something by the way I talk about it. Because if I'm not really into it, I was just like, eh. But when I start talking about these kids, I start talking about my job and helping people. It's just a different, you know, bounce to my voice. And I'm into what I don't have time. Like I don't have time to waste doing that. Anything I'm doing right now, it has to either be a passion or has to be something that's going to be beneficial, you know, at this point.
Well, Deuce and Billy both told me your nickname was the Great Debater.
So that came from, it was funny, you know, I looked at the comments from Saturday, and there was this guy, he said, damn, he's like, Coleman, he's like, he could argue the sky, he could debate the sky being blue.
That's what Billy said.
Being a lawyer, yeah. So no, I'm opinion. I feel like I'm opinionated. I like to voice my opinion, and you know, we had some good debates over in Gibbs Hall. So
yeah, that was one of the things that, you know, you've been on the show before. You came on last year with Deuce and Billy, and just a lot of the stories that was told. That, man, y'all were getting fights on the practice field, but when you go back to Gibbs Hall, you'd be playing Tiger Woods and video games. That's just that's just so unusual. Is that just what makes a good team?
Yes, that's what makes a good team.
Yeah, it's really not unusual, because I saw recently where Earl Thomas, you know, he got released for punching a teammate. I saw a bunch of teammates get punched. And it's like, you know, it's a certain way to go about it, but when you get in between those lines, you know how to separate when you're an athlete, because when you're ultra competitive, when you get dropped into a situation where everybody around you is ultra competitive, it's like that's what comes out of it. You learn not to take that personal. We don't even have to wait to get back to the dorm. It's on the sideline. You've seen guys fighting, and then they're standing on the sideline joking about it, and, you know, people, you know, making fun of it. It's not, you know, I don't get the big deal about that. It wasn't weird to me to see that. I saw it high school, college, you know.
It's normal, in my opinion. Like you say, you got ultra competitive people. Coach Summer used to love when we was about to fight. I mean, we pushing, cussing each other out.
Hell, she was fighting you.
Yeah, I know, right? She yoke us up too. But that's just what it is, and especially when you're playing contact sports. Yeah. Like it's kind of hard not to almost or get in a fight. Like it's tough.
I won't say the coaches' names. We had a situation, Lovers Lane in football. That's where
Yeah.
you have the defensive lineman going against the offensive
Rito
lineman.
and I were talking about that this
Yeah,
weekend.
back to the brass rushing drills, and it gets not just the players, the coaches get they talking smack. So we had some coaches get into it and get into the fray. Somebody busted their head. That's part of what we do.
Wow. You were telling me a story a couple days ago, Jeff, and it just blows my mind. And this is the perfect show to talk about it. You were talking about how all the things that you did with the Lady Vols and what it was like when Coach Summit would walk into the room. Kind of tell everybody what you told me behind the scenes, what you witnessed as a football player, of when
Yeah.
Coach Summit would walk in a room.
So just personal on that first step, I've said this and everybody knows, and my wife, everybody knows, I'm like the biggest Lady Vol fan. And what I went to, I went to more of those games, and I went no shot, no disrespect to my fellas, but I went to more Lady Vol games than I did, anything else. I was a regular at that. I was really into, what they were doing. It was because of Pat, because if you go to that cafeteria, and especially when you're a young player, it can be intimidating. The whole football team's there. You got athletes, and it's not just the football team. There's other athletes there, and you have these big time, athletes, people who are Olympians, and people, all these people coming through there. People that's going to the NBA, and just all these different athletes, and it's intimidating. But it can be for a young person. But nobody commanded a room like Pat did. When Pat walked into any room that I was ever in, that she walked in, people just automatically, you look at her, you give her that respect, and she doesn't have to say anything. It's no, she would say something. She would have words for you, but she didn't have to. Was the thing. She could. Everybody, like a hush went over, and people would just look and see what she was doing. And when she did have things to say to us, it was always, it was something that either stuck with you, something that resonated, something that she saw. Like how, she's a basketball coach. How does she know this kind of stuff? Though she was just, and it wasn't about like X's and O's or anything else. She inspired people to be better at what you're doing and to get on your shit. It was like she didn't take any bullshit. You could tell that. Like she didn't have to tell you I don't take your shit. You
Yeah.
knew she didn't take your shit. So just her aura, but that's the word I use, like that aura. Like how Rick James had an aura. You could see her aura when she was like anywhere. And I go see the stat whenever I go up there now. I always go pay tribute. I go over there, see the statue, see, go. I took the background tour of like some of the offices when I came over there recently. So I'm still just real connected to that. That's a real special something for me. It has a connection for me.
So you knew all the Lady Vols back when you was on campus, huh? You
We did,
party
yeah.
with them?
We were all like you know how it is. We all had because you share those same experiences. Like it's different
Yeah.
sports, but you all had that feeling of I don't feel like going to practice today. Your ass got to go. I don't feel like you got that pressure, the expectations. We all either your different sports, different genders, but we all share that same experience, and we know we all connect on that level of we're all in the same place. That little bubble, all that stuff. We're in the same vicinity. We're all seeing each other
Hmm.
every other day. So we all connect that way.
Yeah, that's a family, Bobby. My
Yeah.
shirt says
Yeah.
the long orange line never breaks, and that's so true. It doesn't matter if you played, in the '90s, in the 2000s, and the '80s. It doesn't really matter if you wore that orange. If you were a volunteer, VFL is VFL, LVFL is LVFL, as y'all see. You know what I mean? So it's you enjoy. It's almost having more brothers and sisters or cousins that you can go support, and they're gonna challenge you. I mean, I hung out with everybody: football, basketball, swimming, track, rowing. Like literally, I hung out with everybody because if you invest in your blood, sweat, and tears, I got respect for you.
Right. Because there's nothing about when we lose to like Florida. Because for one thing, we knew when we played at home, if you look behind us, like you see all the different sports. Like everybody, they're right there. They see it. They know what's going on. You lose to Florida or somebody, then you got to go back to the cab and you got to look at everybody like,
Yeah,
what y'all doing? Like, what's up? So it's a good sort of pressure that way. People like I said, the lady ball, like they were winning the whole time we were there. So they were putting the pressure on us to do something anyway. So that's just what it was. You couldn't be around there and not have to. look at and live up to that excellence that they were putting out there on the court. So
Yeah, I was living in Knoxville during that three-peat, and that was just I can't even put into words, Jeff, what kind of excellence that was. You just knew. I mean, the whole ball team,
yeah.
all the Meeks. I remember, who was it? Randall. One of them said something about, well, I'm a gamer. I get activated when I smell the popcorn. And Pat said, well, if you don't rebound and get back on defense, you ain't going to be playing.
Yeah, that's
So-
me. That's Randall.
Yeah, that's Randall. That's Samika. I was gonna say that sounds like Samika.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Of course. So I stood like that group, Samika, even when, after we were playing a little bit, when she would come in town, when she was with the Mystics, we hang out, we still check in, talk. I talked to Samika earlier in the year when she got her job coaching and with them. So like these are people, those are lifelong, it's family. Like you said, it's not just friends or whatever. That's family. We're all, connected by that common thread.
Well, you said something. I think it was you, Alexis, said something about, you wear that orange and it's that blood, sweat, and tears. That reminded me of something I want to ask Jeff. Somebody told Fred White one time, and Fred can talk. He's one of the best talkers there is. And he said, you want me to get in a fight? Tell me my education's free.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole thing about players getting paid and all that stuff. How do you feel about players getting paid of something? Using their likeness, like Fred said, they're using the same skin color, the same stats, the same height, same number. They know it's him.
Well, I remember sitting in the basement of Gibbs Hall in, like, was it 90? Yeah, it was 98, because I was on the 98 game, and we're sitting there in the lobby in the players' lounge before we had a real players' lounge. And I'm sitting there, I'm playing the game. It's number 92. It had me play, it had my position, it had everything. Everybody, you know who it is. And everybody's eating off that except for us. And when somebody said, if you want to get me riled up, start talking about a free education. I understand what we had. And, I appreciate the opportunity and being blessed to be able to go do that. But again, like Dude said, like Fred said, there's nothing free about anything that we do. And, looking at the situation, I wrote a paper about this when I was in school, just the amount of money, the long line of people like you, and you look at it right now, it's an insane number. You start from the 80 down, the 80, the coach, the assistant coaches, you have assistant coaches making $1 million. The bonuses are just insane amounts of money. They deserve, they work for it, they deserve it. But everybody in that equation is benefiting to a level that it exceeds what the players because you look at the numbers of what the education, what the tuition and cost and everything. It is not a drop in the bucket. It's a vapor of a drop in the bucket of what they generate. And you look at what's going on right now. I think it was LSU said that if they don't play football this year, they're going to lose. Was it some insane number? $100 million.
Yeah.
So the leverage right now that these players have is insane because it's not just the athletic department is going to go under. It's the schools are masquerading as institutions of higher learning, but they're professional football franchises or what they are right now. And you have a couple of other sports like Lady Vols always put money out there. They made their money. You have other sports at other schools that'll make their money, but the way they exploit football has gotten to, and it's been exposed right now as to what it is. So right now, to say the players, like, they should be getting hazard pay, they're not getting any pay. To go out there and risk what they're doing, and the only reason they're doing it right now is because these schools can afford not to do it, tells you everything you need to know about whether they should do it or not.
I've never understood why the rules are different for football, basketball, and baseball and all that stuff. They're just not the same. Seem like they penalize the football players more on that kind of, like, extra jobs, and it just seems that way to me. I may be wrong.
Well, I don't think they penalize it more. I think you just have more play. Like, you have 85, 90 football players, and you only have 10, 15 basketball players. And it's like the chances of something happening with 95 people, 90 people, you're just going to see it more with football. And
on basketball, you can declare for the draft. You can't do that in football. And you can change your mind in basketball and come back as long as you didn't hire an agent or something. They just changed that rule here recently.
They're protecting their investment. They're keeping the control over that cash cow.
Yeah.
They want to keep them in school longer. They want their
Mm-hmm.
product to be something too because it's generating money.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of why you see the rule that don't give me to the NCAA. That's a whole nother conversation to have about them. But
Yeah, man. The NCAA is modern day slavery.
Yep.
Seriously. Jeff, I'm sorry, yo. Let me get on some of these comments. Go Vols, go Gators, go Dogs.
Oh yeah, we got Jeff on YouTube. Most of the people aren't even Tennessee fans over there, but they're good people.
Yeah, but they love the show. They love the differing opinions. Makes it interesting.
Rachel Henderson says, "Hey guys, I'm late." She said that earlier. She's always
What, Rachel? You late? You ain't never late, right? Come on, man. You ain't never late. And I don't know this Jason Taylor dude talking about weed. We not talking about weed, bro. What are you talking about? Like he talking about it's legal in Colorado. I live in Colorado and it's legal cannabis over there. Thank God. I wish Tennessee and Alabama legalized cannabis over there. I'm high and it's fun. Yes. Okay. I mean, great, bro. Great. I got a question for you, Jeff. If we were to pay the college players, what would be the scale for a year's salary? 5 stars gets $1 million, 3 stars getting 250. How would you do that?
So no, the general way to do this is to you can't have five stars is a high school rating and it has nothing to do with what you did in college. But everybody, the only way to make that work, I think everybody at the college level has to get the same thing. The way that person who is a star athlete is going to get paid more is off their likeness. Let that person who can sell their jersey, sell their memorabilia, like they're going to buy Peyton Manning's jersey like my teammate before they were going to buy mine. Peyton's going to make more money than me. He should. Right. Me and Peyton get the same stipend or whatever. You said that, and it's across the board for every school. It's not like University of Texas can pay more than the University of Tennessee, so we're going to have this thing where I'm a recruit, I'm going over here. No, it needs to be across the board for everybody. But again, if Peyton can sell his jerseys and sell 1 million of them, and I sell 2, then Peyton should sell his 1 million jerseys and I sell 2, and we get the same stipend. That's how you have to do that. You can't stagger it based on the talent level. That's not going to work.
I like that idea. It also kind of forces you to grow into that entrepreneurial mindset, that business mindset early.
And if you market yourself, and as long as you do it within the team, the confines, you're not hurting what you're doing as a team, then that what you do, what you sell out here, and it's above board, that's on you.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. Bobby, we got anything on Facebook besides Rachel coming in?
Yeah, Justin Sanday said, "Hey, Catfish, we're going 50-0. Yeah, we're going 50-0. That's just an inside joke. We're going to, before I die, we're going to go 15-0 one year. I just feel it. What do you think about the football team this year, Jeff? If we play a whole season, what are you thinking? I got us going 7-3 on them 10 games. That's where I got us.
I'll be completely honest with you because, I'll say, I've said it to everybody, so I have to be consistent about what I say right here. I have a hard time even getting into it because I don't think they should be playing right now.
Okay, fair.
But I still, I mean, it's my school, and I still follow from what we're bringing back, and some of the young guys that we have, and I did early on look at the schedule and understand who we're playing with. I think that 7-3, 8-2. It's fair, but you don't know what we're going to do because you've had to stop practice. Because there could be some teams that we're playing against. They lose 20 players to COVID, or they couldn't practice, or you don't know. So it's kind of hard to get into it and to watch it because there are so many unknowns. I just think it would have been smarter to. And now I think the Big Ten is about to make a mistake. I think they're caving into pressure. They're going to reverse what they did, and I think they had it right. In the first place, to just try to play it in the spring. You're gonna lose some guys that that were getting ready for the NFL, but it's college football. So what? You got 90 kids, and somebody that wouldn't have played will have to step up. So the 7-3, 8-2. I think that's about where we are. Could be better. Like that's a floor for where we are. But I just think we're the arrow's pointing up for us. So I'm disappointed. We're not going to get a chance to see exactly in normal conditions what we could do, but. If they go ahead and play it, I'm always going to support them. I'm always going to stand behind them. But, my stance is my stance.
Well, let's piggyback on that. And this is going to be a question for Alexis and you, Jeff. And this is Alexis' show, but I got to pop in here because you said something. You don't think they should be playing?
No.
Okay. there was a lot of people, and I get to see all the comments on these articles and on the videos and stuff, that a lot of people in Knoxville were upset with Pruitt for canceling practice because of COVID. But then he goes out and marches that same day. Mm-hmm. I have an opinion. I'm sure you have an opinion. And that seemed to be a pretty common theme in the comment threads. I want to hear y'all both respond to that.
To which piece? Oh, I'll let Alexis go first.
What are you talking about? The canceling of the practice?
How they canceled it for COVID, but that same day he was protesting on the streets with everybody else.
With a mask on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My thing is, you're not playing football in a mask, number one. Number two, he is marching for justice. Mm-hmm. And if you can't respect that, I got some choice words for you, but I'm going to leave them inside of here. But I think that it was a great representation of Tennessee and our stance on unity, on racial injustices. And I think that as a football coach such as Pruitt, when he does that, it's saying, you know what, Tennessee fans, we are here for more than just football. Oops, my bad, guys. I normally turn my notifications off. Sorry. Let me do that right there. But we're here for more than just football. And, you know, if y'all don't like it, don't say you're a Tennessee fan. Don't say you support the players. Don't say that it's not just a game. It's just a game. If you're mad that he marched for racial injustice instead of having practice where they will be unprotected during this COVID crisis, bro, miss me with that shit for real.
So I wanted y'all to have an opportunity to give a player's perspective.
So I'll give you mine too, and you hit a lot, Alexis, on what I was saying, because you going out and practice in each other's face, falling and tackling on each other is different than me walking outside, and also outside, but having on a mask, and you can separate yourself, and you're not on top of someone, breathing on someone. You know, it is when you bring a large group of people together, you know, talking about COVID protocol, but there's certain things you can do to remain safe and have a certain protocol when you're marching that you can't do on a football field. And having to explain that to somebody, I don't understand why you have to break that individual part of it down because you're on top of someone tackling somebody. So yeah, to everything that Alexis said, you know, that, and for me, if I'm going to risk my health, I would rather risk it for a cause than for a game. If you want to really get down to it past all of the other stuff we're talking about, but if I'm going to risk my health, it's going to be for something bigger in the game. And I know people don't want to hear that from an athlete because they want everybody to think that sports is everything, that your favorite team, it means the world. Like when I hear certain players like I die on the field, that's bullshit. I'm not going to die on the field. I'm going to give you everything I have, but I'm not willing to just go die for a game. And, you know, right. That's just, and I know it's hyperbole for a lot of people, but some people believe that. No, it's certain, some things are bigger than sports. And these are some things in the optics of it, like you said, to have Pruitt, because there's certain coaches, some other teams that wear orange, I'm not going to say his name, their coaches on the opposite end of that spectrum. Now, his players are doing one thing, but you don't have that same kind of support from a lot of other coaches. And as a player, that means something to a player. Like, I go run through a brick wall or get knocked out trying for somebody that I know supports me as a person, not just as a football player. Right. So, and that's just being a decent human being and a good person. And it transcends football and sports. So yeah, I'm like you. If you can't understand that, then you're not trying to understand it. You don't want to understand it. And I don't give you a bunch of airtime trying to convince you because you can't be convinced.
Well, there's a lot of Vol fans feel that way, and you know the dynamics going on in Tennessee.
I do, but and I asked, like, I had to get off the boards because if people are like, why are you? They're like, why are you in here? Because they know you're like, yeah. I asked that question. I'm like, when I say I'm gonna go back to real quick about they shouldn't be playing, and there's a study out there right now. It's like there's a player at Clemson, a top rated player who still suffered. He had it in the spring, and he's still suffering from some after effects of COVID. And you ask somebody, so what's for an athlete? Somebody, it's a respiratory disease. Someone who's everything that they do counts on their respiratory system. What's the long term effects of COVID?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell you know what the long term effects are, and it's been around for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
So, or for that amount of time. So, if nothing else, they needed to take this time to look at that, to study
Figure it
that,
out.
not risk putting people at hell. Like and they give you that thing, and it's always been around. And you see it in sports and football. It's like either you're hurt or you're injured. And they hitting them with that same stuff right now. It's just like, well, you're fine, you're okay. Like, why wouldn't you want to play? If you leave it up to the player, like these guys, like they want to play. The hell you think an 18, 19, 20-year-old football player is going to say, I want to play? If you ask them, that's just like, you have to protect people from themselves sometimes. And the grown-ups in the room they're sitting there right now just watching people, but for other reasons other than the absolute wellness of these kids.
I was thinking the other day about, and I wanted to ask Alexis this, so I'm going to ask you another question, Alexis. What do you think? You spent a lot of time with Pat Summitt. Can
Mm-hmm.
you channel her and tell us how she'd feel about the world today? Not only the COVID, but the protests, Black Lives Matter. What would she be doing if she was coaching right now and she was on the hill? What would she be saying? What would she be doing?
Honestly, I think she would be also a coach that's walking down all throughout the campus, but other places as well. I think you would see Pat even doing video type things, because she didn't have all this video access that we have, social media and stuff now. But if she was here, I guarantee she would have little segments of her fighting the injustices because that's who she was. Pat loved all of her players like we were her daughters. She actually made us feel, and I'll speak for myself, but it made me feel like this is my home away from home. This is a safe haven. Now she can't control what happens, and I never shared some of the racial things that I ran into, the racial slurs that were thrown at me when I'm out in Knoxville. But I guarantee she would have stood up for me because that's who she is, even being a white woman in Tennessee, born and raised. And I also think that she would be 110% supportive. I'm sorry, 110% supportive of not having a football season, like Jeff said, right now. I think she would be someone who would speak up against it, that say we shouldn't, push the issue due to money. What's best for these kids, and I don't think that she would do it, to be honest.
She was always for the kids, and she tore down a lot of barriers. Title 19 for one. She's
Mm-hmm.
credited with a lot in that area, so I think she'd be right there kicking butt and taking names right now if she was around.
Absolutely, she fights for what's right. She teaches us to do what's right. So I could not, in a million years, foresee her still being here today and not fighting for what's right.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else over there on YouTube?
Nah, Jason got off his cannabis kick, and he said he's just sick of Tennessee being a laughing
So,
stock of college football.
Me too.
so outside of that, I want to let me ask Alexis a question because we touched on this a little bit. I want from your perspective, player perspective, what is and it's a couple part question. So let me ramble for a minute, then I'm gonna toss it to you. What is the purpose of the NCAA? Because if we ever needed the NCAA, we needed them in 2020 as a safety net. You shouldn't have to make decisions about money versus kids' lives. The fact that the NCAA, with the amount of money that they hoard away every year, that there's not something in place to help these athletic departments or some type of insurance or whatever the case may be, to where look, we can cover some of these losses or we can offset some of these losses for right now until we figure this thing out and figure out a better way to do this and adjust the schedule for a year till we're in a better place. The fact that they don't have anything in place, they don't have, and you have out of the five major conferences, you have what, three of them playing right now, two of them aren't, and the NCAA is sitting there twiddling their thumbs, having nothing to say about it. Like, what the hell are y'all doing, and what is your purpose if not to do something in a situation like this? What is your take on that?
What is the purpose? The NCAA, I already told you, that's modern day slavery, in my opinion. And like you said, this is the perfect time. They want to control everything else, what you do, what you don't do, how you get there, transfer, everything that a player or an athlete a student athlete is required to do comes from the NCAA.
Right.
So, like you said, two things. Why didn't they have something in place? Number one, or at least within the first couple months begin to put something in place if they
Right.
didn't have it. And then number two, where's this money going?
Where's his money going?
Where's it
Where's the
going?
money going?
Where's it going? Where is it going? You're literally making millions, billions of dollars
Mhm.
off these student athletes, and we can't help them stay safe. Like, I really truly believe, I know it would be hard because we're students first, athletes second, right? Student athlete. And we can't technically in college form a bubble situation like the NBA and the WNBA did, right? Where you can literally say, okay, I can watch you go in and out. You
I
get
think basketball is going to do that. I do think basketball is going to do that to a certain degree. I think they could have done that to a certain
yeah.
by conference. I think you could do that. You're taking classes online anyway, so why couldn't
Yeah,
you?
that is true. That is true. You could do it online, and I feel like as long as people are getting the help that they need, like if you need extra tutoring or whatever, as long as they virtually have that set up, I think that's a great idea. But again, who's gonna pay for it?
Right. Well, I said about 5 years ago, within 10, 15 years, that the Power Five was going to break away from the NCAA anyway. I think it may be within the next 2, 3 years now because they see they don't need them. Like, what was your purpose? Like, why do we need? And they're not controlling anything. They're not supporting anything. They're not having any kind of infrastructure. You don't have any kind of uniformity. Like you said, you have something to say about socks, about visors, about belts, about the size of like how far the jersey can come down.
Well,
You get down to the minutia of that, but now you're sitting there and you got three conferences playing tonight, and it's like people postponing games and people doing whatever. Some people it's only conference. It's like it's a shit show now, and you're in the NCAA sitting there doing what?
The
right.
NCAA seems like some sort of mafia.
They
Nobody
are.
know who runs the NCAA. I mean, you say NFL, that's Roger Goodell. I want to know what the dude's paycheck is, and
Oh, it's probably
follow the
some.
money. I bet you he makes millions and millions, and that's why they're not doing anything because that's the cash cow.
Yeah.
Their only job should have said, in the best interest of our student athletes, we are postponing all sports for the remainder of 2020, and then we'll go from there. I honestly believe that's what should have happened. It gives people time to adjust. I mean, I miss sports. I mean, it kind of messed with my mind and my anxiety because this was my first full year of retirement. I was excited to be home for sports. I was excited to be so close to Knoxville to be able to get there for games. And not just, one or two women's games, but to go watch a football game. I don't remember the last time I've been able to go to a Tennessee football game in Knoxville. So, I mean, shut it down. It's going to take one, and it shouldn't happen to anybody. And I pray this doesn't happen. But what happens? What happens if a kid that has asthma or pre-existing conditions, or even a perfectly normal kid, gets COVID in such a bad way that they never recover?
Right.
With like they die from it.
So can
Yeah,
I just want to give I try to I give my personal accounts, but I try not to get too. But I think it fits right here because my daughter is a Division I athlete at Virginia Tech. She runs track, but she also has asthma.
mm,
So we had to make a decision. She had to opt out of until the foreseeable future because like the workouts and we looked at the protocols that they were putting in place and it wasn't good enough. And it was like I keep hearing this was the safest place for them to be, but you still keep seeing the cases pop up like crazy. But these kids are playing football and they're going back to campus with these people who are having COVID parties and everything else. And it's just like we can't put her in that situation. So in this it's the same thing. She's in that same universe with all these other athletes, and Virginia Tech has already postponed 2 football games. I don't think the seasons, the ones that are playing, are going to make it through the end of September. I don't know how it's going to happen. You have 44 players missing practice. You have to stop a scrimmage. Like, why are you still trying to do this if you have to keep doing that?
yeah,
I
it don't
think
make sense.
if you think that one year, if this whole thing, that's the ultimate living, that's the macro scale of living check to check. If you can't take off one year or postpone one year and the whole system crumbles because you postpone one calendar or one football season, that something was wrong with the system, and that goes back to the NCAA.
Yep. And Herbert said it best, and I think you said it also. Get rid of them. Get rid of the NCAA. They're not doing nothing. We don't need them. Um, because this was their perfect time to show us who they are and why they're there.
This was their perfect time to say, "Oh, you know what? I see why." Like that. That was their moment to shine, and they
Right.
failed miserably. They were like they were oh shit like everybody else. And it was like, well, what are we gonna do? They scrambled and they didn't have anything to scramble to. And to your point, okay, I get you were caught off guard, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in, and you still don't have anything.
2 months in, they should, you know,
2 months, like yeah, the first at the beginning, it's like, all right, I get it, but you 2 months in, you should have had something in place.
We've learned
yeah,
a lot about COVID. There's been employers that learn that they don't have to have their workforce come in anymore. They can all, most everybody
Oh,
can work from home now, and that
I
used to
never had
be
to
a
go back to the
perk.
office ever. I never
Yeah,
like I can. I was because I traveled a lot and I worked from home. I work remotely anyway, but it's just like, what do I need an office for? I would travel to the West Coast for. I would fly 4 hours to go to an hour and a half, 2 hour meeting, stay, turn around and fly back, or just fly right back. Like, what was the purpose? I could have done this over Zoom. I could have done a Skype call. I could have done like nowadays when you don't have a choice, and that's what we do. We adapt as humans, and it's like you
hmm
get to certain things, and yeah, they see there it's changing the whole world. And it's like there's certain things that shouldn't go back to the way that they were.
I wonder if it's too late to buy Zoom stock.
It is too late. I like you know what? So at some point, well, Microsoft team though is it's still low enough to where they still have enough room to grow. Zoom is kind of capped out, but
yeah.
Microsoft team that stock is high, so I bet that has some room to grow.
Yeah. Wow. Anybody else over there on YouTube? We got a bunch of them over here. Ra Belk is commenting over here. He said it's
That's
kind
Now,
of
yeah, I know him. That's some of my people.
cool. Cool.
Yeah, that's some of
what
my
they
that's some
say?
of my people.
I ain't got nothing, Bobby. What they saying on Facebook?
I can't see it.
He just said, I guess he was referring to the comment that canceling practice for COVID, but he can go protest the same day. He said, well, it's a contact sport, I'm sure. So, and he
Yeah.
said, you're telling it like it is. We got a lot of people over here watching.
That's
But
what's up.
anyway,
Hey y'all, what up? What up? What up? Thank y'all for joining in with myself and Bobby Catfish and Jeff Coleman, volunteers in the building. Hey, keep the questions coming. You know, we'll be up here. We're gonna wrap it up here in a little bit. But while we're on here, y'all got any questions for me or Jeff? Holler at us, man.
Jeff was bragging the other day, Saturday. Yeah, you were bragging about how much you knew about Lady Vols and how much you hung out with them. Tell me some stories. We want to hear some stories now. Come on.
Not
Yeah,
doing that. See,
yeah.
that's the code. I can't tell. I give you the general stories. I
No,
can't
I'll
I
take
can't I
general.
can't I can't go any further than that.
All right, I got a question, Jeff.
Yeah.
Who was the wildest Lady Vol during your tenure in Tennessee?
Oh, see now you got to remember. So when I give you the years, you're gonna like. Now I'll tell you. I'll give you the wildest like crowd in the group. So I left in '98.
Right.
That class that came in '98 and '99. Everybody was a little bit buttoned up before that. That particular class, that was like with Ace and that group, like
No,
Ace.
no.
So that class right there was like out of here. They were like they gave Pat a run for her money. They gave her like she I know she out here look. She don't look at her. Shalon and that group.
Yeah.
They were great. They had a good time. Like nothing too crazy, but like I know Pat. I know they had her. Shaking her hand a couple times because everybody else was like so kind of buttoned up and professional when they got there. They had a
Yeah.
good time too. But that group, that '98, '99 that came in.
So
That was
that must have been the shift because I know by the time I took my visit, my official,
wild.
it was lit.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's awesome. I just love hearing stories. You know, all these VFLs I've got to hang out with, knowing Billy, and just it's just amazing. So the code, y'all really are brothers. I was talking to him about Dyron. I said, man, you need to get on the show with Dyron because y'all would argue it out, and then y'all be best friends when you're done. You know, because there's a code of brotherhood.
Yeah,
So it's funny you say that because we did have, and it's funny because it's public. We didn't mean for it to get that way because it's usually like we'll call when it gets to a certain level. It's like you call or you text you whatever. So it was something on this page. We started going back and forth. You know how you get caught up in the moment sometimes, and it's like we just went
Billy
at and
said he
people,
tagged you on purpose.
right, and people, yeah, people seeing it. Well, they think what they're like. Oh man, they hate each other. Just like the next thing you know, it's like love you, bro, love you, man. It's like it was to us, it was nothing. And it's like I told you, if you can't, if I can't, if you're friends and you can't argue, disagree, or something like that, and be okay, then something was off about that relationship. We got to be able to like check each other, or tell you something you don't want to hear, disagree with you, whatever the case may be, and still be okay. That has to happen for it to be a true relationship like that.
For sure. Family fights, man. Family fights.
Fight like we gonna fight, like yeah.
Yeah.
Like put hands
And
on each other. So me and some others had like I got way too old for that now, but every time we see each other, it's like we just start like wrestling, fight, really like not fighting, but like wrestling, like trying to take each other out for
yeah.
years, for like 20 years before we finally was like, I can't do this no more, man. I was like, I'm done. We're like Peter Griffin and that chicken, man, just like going at it on site, just like boom. But I was like, I can't do this no more.
Man, I've heard so many stories. I tell you who I'd like to hang out with. I'm not a football player, but if I could pick a player, it'd be Bill Duff.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. The funniest thing I have about Bill Duff is like you see Bill Duff now. He's bald. Bill
Yeah,
Duff
he's
used to
been on
look
the
like
show.
he
Yeah.
used to look like Andrew Dice Clay. He's from Jersey. I mean, he had the Jersey swoop dude. So it was one year we were in camp, and you know how sometimes people would shave their heads or whatever before camp. But I could tell Bill had that, like it was receding just a
Yep.
little bit. I said, Duff, I was like, don't cut your hair off, man. I said, it's not growing back. And it's like, it's a wrap. I was like, don't cut it. Keep that bouffant you have, that little comb over. I was like, don't cut it, bro. He cut that thing off. It was over. He been bald headed since then. I was like, Duff, just don't do it, man. So Duff is a good guy, man. And that's one of those things about family. We still stay connected. We talk through Facebook. How he does hospitality and things. He was in
Yeah.
Cleveland. And I
Yeah.
had a death in the family and had some family going up, and we needed hotels. He's like, whatever you need, like we do it. It's just that's just the type of thing and just the type of people just our family is. That's the way we are.
I
So
was
he's a
surprised
good
to
man.
how quiet he was on the show because he was an animal on the football field.
Yeah.
An animal. And he was just all quiet and calm. It just blew me away.
Well, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
yep. We got a question. Herbert said, "Hey, Lady Ball, how was it to put on a championship ring for the first time?" And you're talking about NCAA championship, right? Because I did put on the SEC ring before that. But it was surreal, man. It's just like that's what you fight for. That's what you practice for. That's what we get killed in preseason for. That's what you fight through injuries for. And once that final buzzer goes off, and it's just like a big old celebration. I'm getting chills right now talking about it.
You just gave. I just got the same thing, man. Yeah.
I got chills right now talking about it. And it's just like, this is what you dreamed of. That's why I came to the University of Tennessee to play for Coach Pat Summitt, is to win championships. Period. And so that was a great feeling. Looked like Jeff finna grab that thing for us.
Yeah, Billy's got one
Oh,
downstairs. Yeah, it's nice.
oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was.
that's how it felt for me. What about you, John? How'd it feel?
It was different for us because and I felt the same, a lot of the same things because you put so much work into it, and from the time I got there, that was a goal of ours because we were good every year. We were so close, so many times. We were right there, and we lost 5 games in 4 years. Lost 3 games to Florida. So that last year, and to be complete, and I tell people this to be completely honest, if you watch the aftermath of that Florida '98 game, that was the national championship celebration right there because
Mm-hmm.
we had tried so hard to get over that hump. But once we finally beat them, now we still had to fight and we had to, Worm had to pull us out and some other stuff had to happen. But for us mentally, that was the hurdle we had to get over. It was a little anticlimactic. Like if you watch after we beat Florida State, and if you put that beside when we beat Florida, it's completely subdued. People we were happy. Don't get me wrong. It's like we were happy, but it became after that game, it became like it was I won't say monotonous, but we're just like we gotta do it, we gotta do it, we gotta do it. we were happiest after winning that game. But once you have, I think years later is when, like, you can never take that away. It's like you're a champion. Yeah, like that's it. No one can take that away from what your team did and what you did. That's something that lasts forever. There's only so many people that can say that. And that's one of those things to where, like you said, the chills you get just thinking about how hard it is to do it. But it's like we could have won two others, but we didn't. And it's not that we weren't as good, but it's just like a lot of things have to happen.
Right.
It's just something you can't take away.
Well, as a fan, it's funny you say that because now that I'm looking back at it and I'm kind of measuring my emotional meter, you mentioned '98, obviously you remember the first thing comes to your mind is Billy Ratliff jumping on that fumble. Then the Florida game, and there's a couple of things, Deion Grant getting that interception in Florida, the missed field goal at Florida. Then you start hitting the plays in the championship game. That's regular season. Those are the things you remember before the championship game. Yeah, you remember Peerless getting the touchdown and D Good getting the pick six, but it's those two things come to you first as a fan.
I have a quick that makes me think about something I have for Alexis. So with us, we played 13 games. You guys played what the year you won the championship? How many games did you end up playing total?
Ooh.
Was it 30? One year they went 30.
It's 30. Yeah, it's almost 40 games basically the whole season. If you go all the way to the end, it's
Right.
almost 40 games.
So I'm thinking about that mentally, like the grind that you're going through, because you guys have like these phases. You have early in the season, you may have a preseason game, not preseason, but an early season game where you play one of these top ranked teams that's out of the conference in the country. You have that going on. Then you get to the conference, and then you go through the conference tournament. Then you go through the NCAA tournament. For me, I'm thinking it's like that. Our season is much more condensed. How do the mental grind of what you have to go through to come out of that on the end and in the tournament? I was always jealous of basketball players because you have because with us until now they have a 4-game playoff, but before now someone could always say, well, so and so for me it was kind of tainted a little bit because it wasn't a real tournament type thing. To go through that whole grind and go through a tournament. Tell me a little bit about how you mentally get ready for that and go through that.
I got to give hats off to Heather Mason, our strength and conditioning coach at the time, because we did more than run and lift. We had literally mental practices. She would have us do things where we had to rely on each other, where we were dog tired. You feel like passing out, or you think you can't go no more, and she pushes you past that. And that's the epitome of our season right there. You go through your preseason, like you say, you have your games. The first couple games are the easy ones. That's kind of get you back. Then we start. At that time, we had the toughest schedule in the nation every single year.
Yep.
So we're playing top 25 teams day in and day out with no break. Pat is relentless.
They coming. They coming.
Yeah, and we got a big old target on our back. And if you can beat Tennessee, whether it's in the regular season, especially in the tournament, you did something. You know what I mean? So for us, it was the drive to say we're the best and y'all not, period. And then also big shout out to the class that I came in with and the seniors and the upperclassmen that were already there my freshman year. Our mentality was just like, it's our turn. I don't care what nobody say. And Pat, she did a great job of challenging us every single practice. Practices were harder than games, man. We're going against men, our practice guys. A lot of these guys could play mid-major or low D1, definitely D2. They could hoop. They're athletes. I mean, we got going against people that's 6'6", 6'7" guys who dunking. Like, these are things that you're not going to come across on the women's side, right? As far as that height and athleticism all in one. Now you see a lot more 6'6" and 6'7" women playing basketball. But for us, it was like, if we can do this in practice, if we can win these games, then we're going to get through the season. You get injured, the next person is always ready to step up because of the level that we practice at. We never doubted that, oh man, so-and-so's out. This ain't going to be good. It was, hey, it's your time. Show out. You know what I'm saying? And then having each other's back. I'm not saying everything was perfect. We had our hard times. We had some losses we shouldn't have had. Lost the SEC, what was that, junior year. Lost in the Final Four freshman year. Lost in the Elite Eight sophomore year. And it's just like you don't want to let coach down because you don't want to go to practice the next day when you do that. And then on top of that, you don't want to let your teammates down. And it's just like that's what is we drove each other, to be honest. I don't think that if we didn't have that cohesiveness, I don't think that any of the Tennessee teams would have been as successful as they were. Like that literally pulled us through. Somebody tired, you don't feel like going to practice, like you mentioned earlier. Your body's aching. You know, you deaf in the family. Your boyfriend or girlfriend broke up. Whatever it is, people got shit that's going to affect them. And you by yourself as a kid, a 18 to 21-year-old kid, not capable of pulling yourself out of that while continuing to stay focused on your craft. Your mind just isn't developed like that to do it continuously over and over and over again through that whole long season, right? We start practice in October and we're going all the way till May.
Long time.
Yeah. And that's regular season time. Preseason is like 2 months. Like,
Trust me, I know.
yeah, man, it was tough, but I think it was a us thing. You know, I don't think that if you came to Tennessee and you were selfish, or you try to distance yourself from the team, either you're going to end up transferring or you're going to get with it and you'll actually start to enjoy the process. And I think we fell in love with the process, and so the outcome reflected that.
Right. So you remember I told you earlier, just like it's that common thread because you hit on a couple things that's like it's the same thing that was going on with us. Like you hit strength and conditioning. John Stuckey, Tom Moffitt, Johnny Long, the group, they prepared us. And it wasn't just like you said, the lifting was one thing, but Coach Stuckey tested you mentally. He put you through it. Like they
I've heard the stories.
They put you through the ringers of, even though that morning runs, it's like, well, how much there was never a set amount of reps or whatever we're doing. We go until it's like somebody throw up or somebody is about to quit and everybody just pull them up. Like they said, they put you to the brink of, all right, how you gonna react when your teammate is struggling? Is everybody gonna leave him? Everybody are you gonna lift them up or you gonna, how are you guys gonna react? Or how's the individual gonna react? So that was one thing that we had that was similar. That practice being tougher than like there were outside of the floor, there's the other people. Like practice was tougher than like what we saw on the other side of our practice field was much tougher than what we saw on Saturdays a lot of time. And it was like the fights, the whatever else, and everybody competing for a job, trying to be better than you, but also lifting people up. And that next man up, that that mentality of like that 98 team, man, we lost, we had three, four, couple first rounders, like 11, 12 people drafted. I tell this story about like we have a senior meeting before the season every year with Coach Foreman, and he had us in here. I'm sitting there. It was a couple. We just lost Peyton Manning, Leonard Little, Marcus Nash, like Terry Fair, all these people that just went to the league. And he told us, he's like, I'm looking around. He's like, shit. We're like, what's wrong with Cole? Like, what is he talking about? He's like, man, I don't know if we're gonna be 6-5, 7-4. Just like
I heard Al Wilson was pissed.
No, everybody was. It wasn't just Al. All of us were. Cause okay, I feel this because for one, I felt disrespected because, mind you, I'm going to my senior year. I've been on all these teams. I've started one year. I've led it. Like, I've been in the thick of it. We have our rotation. It's just like before, it's the next man up. So, like, what's different now? Like, just because we lost these top-tier players, it's like we lose top-tier players every year. Why are you coming in here? Maybe you said that. Now he tells me that I did it to motivate y'all. I'm like, nah, coach, you believe that shit. It's like you thought we were gonna be 7-4, 6-5, and we had a chip on our shoulder that whole year. And it's like next man up. Jamal Lewis gets hurt that year, and we know what Jamal Lewis is. We went to somebody else. Like Al missed games that year. We went to somebody else. It just was a constant thing with that team, and we had done it before because when we were younger, these older guys, we were all playing. We were preparing each other to be that guy. And then when you go down, somebody else steps up. It shouldn't be that type of drop off. And that's what we talked about that. So yeah, the strength conditioning, practice, next man up. And see, we all have those same kind of experiences. And that's what you connect on.
How many times did you want to go home, Alexis? Your 4 years. Tell the truth. How many times did Pat would make you want to go home?
Let me tell you something. I almost transferred my freshman year, man. Everybody that played at Tennessee and probably most schools, you're lying if you say you never thought about leaving.
Yeah.
You're lying because you get tested in a way you have never been tested before consistently. You got to think in youth sports, whether it's school ball, whether it's AAU, whatever it is, it's you practicing 2-3 times a week. You got tournaments on certain weekends. Then you're away from it. You're never away from it in college sports. It's always there. And Pat used to remind us we live in a fishbowl. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm tired of living in a fishbowl. I want to do what I want to do. Like, so Coach and I, we used to bump heads a lot. She actually gave me the nickname. She said, Hornbuckle, you're an I don't give a shitter. I was like, yep. But one thing she also would say is, ask if you ask Hornbuckle, she gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, man. Because I mean, I'm just the type of person. If it's wrong, okay, my bad. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. And if it's right, you damn right. I told y'all. You know what I'm saying? That was me. And Pat's she's more humble. So I was out of there, Bobby. I mean, I'm pretty sure I told a few people like I'm going to UConn just to piss her off. But that's kind of hard-headed knucklehead I was.
Oh man.
I told my mom I had that, one of the moments, and I have to big ups to my mom for like she told me when I left there was no coming back. I got that situation to where I don't know what it was that put me over the edge that particular time. And I called my mom. I was like, I got my stuff packed. Come and get me. Yada yada yada. I was in the Gibbs Hall lobby, sitting in that middle part where the phone was with all my bags. And I'm sitting. I know how long it takes my mom to get there, so I timed it just right. It's like 2-3 hours. So I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there. I'm still sitting there. So like 5-6 hours later, I call my mom. She answers the phone. I'm like, "What are you still doing? I thought you were coming to get me." She's like, "Take your ass back to the room and just figure it out. Just whatever it is, figure it out." She's like, "I wasn't coming to get you, so I wasn't coming to get you." So yeah, we all go through that. We all get tested to the point, and now like the thing is now the difference is that now I think when kids, their parents do come and get them. Yeah. Or like the minute something goes wrong, you have to have people around you. Again, you're a kid, you don't always know what's best for you. Right. Like somebody, you either need to have people like your friends around you or some adult, somebody who knows more about things in life to just talk you off that ledge and talk you down. And you have to come to your senses yourself. I had, the time where I came to my senses myself. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. It's just like, I just gotta it was on me. It was like I'm trying to blame somebody else. Like that's same stuff is somewhere else. I need to just get right here and make that right. So
and then that turns you into a quitter, and I was never okay being a quitter.
That's the thing,
like nah, she ain't gonna beat me. She ain't gonna get me out here. Like I'm gonna handle my business. It becomes personal. You go through that frustrating stage where it's just too much. It's too hard. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do it no more. And then it's like, wait a minute. I came here because I can. They say yes because they know I can. It's up to me to do it. You know what I mean? So your mentality. My dad, I mean, he support me either way. But it's more like, hey, you gotta fight for what you want. It's not gonna be easy, but it'll be worth it. And so I just stuck it on out. After that, I broke my wrist my sophomore year. So that time that I spent on the bench, I got to see Coach Summit in a whole different light, not her point guard, right? Because as a point guard, anything that happens on that court while you there is your fault.
Yeah.
So I heard my name a lot. I heard Hornbuckle all the time in practice and games, and it just got frustrating. Not that I ain't never had crazy coaches or people yell at me because my dad and my uncles coach me. They'll snatch me up, throw chairs. I came up in the crazy. So that didn't bother me. It was just more so like, I don't know, man. It's just tough. Like I don't even know how to really explain how hard it got so quick, in my opinion. Coming from being.
I saw the tears that she would bring people to. I have an idea of what you're talking about.
But see, that's the thing. I wasn't a crier though. I'm one of them that bark back. So I stayed in trouble, man. Like, if I disagree, I'm gonna let you know. Like we'll tell a story. I'm not gonna mention my teammate's name, but all right, Pat, my freshman year, she comes in the dorm, and me and my then roommate got bottles lined up. Empty bottles. That was the cool thing to do back in the day.
What kind of bottles did you have? Pepsi, Coke? What did you have?
I don't think she would have.
So your freshman you had E&J. Now that senior you had some Hennessy.
Yeah. Oh, spot on, Jeff. Spot on, bro. And then my son, like, she used to ask me, like, you got a drinking problem? Like, do you have to drink when you go out? I was like, no, I want to drink when I go out. That's why I go out. Like, I don't understand. So she threatened to send me home, right? She said, I'll send your butt home. I'll put you on a plane back to West Virginia. And I said, are you paying for it? Because my parents can't afford that. Like, that's not what you're supposed to stay in that instance.
You know, I had the same, like, Phil told me, he's like, don't make me send you back to Gaffney, South Carolina. He's like, I really can. He's like, I don't want to go back, and I know you don't want to go back either. So yeah, he told me that. So he threatened to send me home on more than one occasion, too.
Billy told me that he called a bus back to Magnolia, and Coach Caldwell was waiting on him when he got there.
I remember that. Yeah, we used to have to keep Billy from going home every week. Like, he wanted to go home every week for a good year and a half, maybe 2. We used to have that, and he went home a couple times. They had to go back and get him. It's like that Billy Earl wanted to go home every other day. Yeah, we had to talk him down all the time, man. All the time.
Man, yeah, it was tough. I had an instance. We went to a party, right? And I ain't drive because I drank. So I was responsible that night. And we get in a car accident. We hit a parked RV the day before a Tennessee football game. I'm in the passenger seat. Okay. We got practice the next morning, plus recruits coming in. Okay. So practice happens. I had a concussion too. I had a malconcussion, but I couldn't tell Pat. So obviously I practiced with a concussion. Don't try that at kids. Don't try that at home, kids. But so Pat pulls me into the locker room like after practice or before the tailgate and stuff. We used to tailgate right at the bottom of TBA. And she was like, Hornbuckle, do you think it's smart to drink and drive? And I said, Coach, I didn't drink and drive. I did a drink and ride. So yes, it was smart. Just like that. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Like, and then once I realized, like, Pat is not attacking me, she is challenging me. You know what I mean? She wants me to be a better woman, a better person, more responsible, this, that, and the third. So it took me about till after I broke my wrist to really calm down a little bit and see it for what it was a little better. Not that I wasn't still wild after that. I just, I try to watch my mouth a little more. Somebody said, that's funny as hell. Yeah, boy, I got stories.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I love about this show, but Billy's down there hollering. I smell him cooking. So we got to hurry and crank this thing up out here now.
So one thing, let me put this out. Like we're about to wrap it up. So you touched on something earlier. And if you have me back on sometime, one thing I want to talk about is that experience, the racist comments you may have received. Yeah. Or the issues that you had. And I have my own story. Some of the people on my flight, Billy knows this story about my situation with the police. The guns pulled on me just right before I left, or they made me leave earlier. So maybe we can get into a little bit of that. So today was good. I want to hear some of these other stories. So yeah, if you have me back on sometime, we can talk.
Oh, for sure, we're gonna have you back on, man. I definitely want to have you back on when Jamel is back home and good. She's also a great person to talk to. Her stories are crazy. We were actually roommates, and she's my best friend. She used soccer, I was basketball. Everybody thought she played basketball though, because we were always together. But yeah, we definitely gonna have you back on. So we'll stay in touch. We in the same state. You south, I'm north, but we'll link up and definitely have you back on here for sure, man.
Oh yeah, I'm on the Charlotte side though. We in the same city. We still in the same place.
Yeah, it ain't nothing. How long does it take from Lake? Is that 40 minutes? Where we at?
Yeah, that's about 40 minutes.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Hey, don't forget to tell everybody. I guess I'm gonna tell them now. We got Commissioner Bennett Martin gonna be on the show next Monday.
Yeah, holding it down.
Yeah,
track and field,
track star.
Like, let's go, y'all. I know y'all see us heating up with our guest out here. Y'all keep staying tuned, man. It's just getting better and better. A lot of that. Big shout out to Bobby. He does a lot of great work on the back end.
Yeah, she was at the tap house. She brought her son by to see Isaac's boy, and I said, I need you on the show next Monday. She said, you got it.
Oh, that was easy. Boom, just like that.
You see what kind of clout, you see what kind of pool Bobby had?
I know, man. He the man. I need to hang out with you more, Bobby.
Well, take us out of here now.
All right, Jeff. Before we go out, is there anything you want to share with the people? Whether it's you helping the community or whatnot, or way for them to follow you and stay engaged of what you got going on.
A lot of people that's out there now, like some of the people, they stay connected on Facebook. That's mostly where I am. And my thing that I would just leave people with, just let your voice be heard. Don't just stand idly by and let things, especially something you feel passionate about, stand up, say something, but don't just say something, do something. And just whatever that is, stand behind what you feel, stand behind what you believe in, get active, get out, register, vote, help other people register to vote, get people out there to vote early because we have, a lot of us avoid the long lines. Just let your voice be heard. And that's it.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you again for your time and for sharing your stories and your wisdom.
No
We definitely
problem.
look forward. Yeah, throw it up. Y'all know what that means. Y'all know what that
Yep.
means. And before we close up, once again, thank you again to Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs in Knoxville, Orange Mountain Designs, and also Just Pass It Tutoring. Guys, it's a great time if your kids are struggling with school or need to prep for PSAT, SAT, or the ACT. That Just Pass It. That's a great option for you. And outside of that, be blessed and remember, be unfiltered in your truth, y'all. Until next time.
Go Vols.